Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid South Wrestling Review for May 19th, 1984. Uh, Still a useful episode here as the Tag Team Championship matches signed. The rematch, Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express. This time, a no disqualification affair. Super Date at the Superdome is also promoted, and Grizzly Smith, matchmaker and father of Jake Roberts, Sam Houston, and Rockin' Robin, is the matchmaker for that affair. Jim Cornette's $50,000 on the line. Actually, his mother's $50,000 against the return of the Tag Team Championship match. Jerry Gray and Mark Reagan are up here. Mark Reagan seems like a guy that they were really trying to push at the time. Also surprised that they got nearly 9 minutes or so out of that tag team match. I don't know that or that tag team contract signing rather. I don't know that they needed that long a bit of time between that and the Superdome deal. I mean that's 20% of the show wasted on promotional stuff. But it happens upon occasion. Jim Ross, your ring announcer, which is always fun to see. Reagan comes in. Reagan, I guess, has been pushed or is going to be pushed as a up and coming star in the area, and he is dancing around Jerry Gray of Floridian, or at least promoted as one. Coming back in, has been an enhancement talent, does quite well. He has struggled for a while with cancer of various areas of the body, and so if you are willing to help the Golden Boy recover, I've heard many a great podcast with him and respect the man a great deal. Anyway, the Beal out of the corner, and pretty aggressively, Gray goes right after Reagan and stays on him pretty well. Reagan kind of does a little bit of a breakdancer gimmick, which is innovative for 84, gets a head scissors takeover, and is locked into the head scissors for a while. Some hard shots and an Irish whip, and Reagan manages to get kind of beat up in the corner rather aggressively, actually. And the crossbody from the second rope. Reagan manages to get a quick fall. The fans are happy with that. Buddy Landel and Masa Ito versus the Rock and Roll Express. Of course, Rock and Roll Express still currently your tag team champions of the Mid-South region, and that is much to the happiness and delight of the fans, who are mostly all, if not all, Rock and Roll Express members or supporters and the like, and obviously Buddy Landel becoming more entrenched in the area as we move forward into the middle point of 1984, almost summer of 84 in a couple of weeks here, and Rock and Roll's obviously Morton and Gibson, willing to do whatever they can, but their feud with the Rock and Roll Express far from over. Their whole 6-year run probably is interlaced in one way or another with the Rock and Roll Express, at least to some degree, and Ito manages to get shot off, hits a shoulder tackle or two along the way, and a big hip toss by Morton. Morton not willing to take too many backward steps, and Gibson comes in that takes the headlock, and then Gibson kind of does the walk up the buckles and takes the headlock takeover. Gibson tends to be more of the guy who will take the match when the Rock and Rolls are in a good place, and Morton when they're in peril. Hip toss and drop kick, and Buddy Landel really good at bouncing around for his adversaries and kind of singing for his supper, if you will. Then we kind of see the continuation of that match. It's interesting that the Rock and Roll Express is almost always in motion at this time, and they're also not unafraid or unwilling to sell. Certainly, without a doubt, that is a major part, if not the most major part, of the Rock and Rolls keeping it going here in the area, and certainly something that I think more teams could benefit from learning: the art of selling, the art of really being, a team that's willing to sell, and that's a whole nother ball of wax, but it's one that I think wrestling schools need to teach more of when we come back from the pandemic. The art of selling and the importance of doing so. The Rock and Rolls do manage to take the majority of the punishment in the match and do end up coming back into more alignment toward the close of the contest and kind of do take over a double drop kick and the victory there. But Saito and Landell wear them down pretty well. We move to the Mr. Wrestling 2 and Magnum TA match up next. And I mean, Wrestling 2 is there. I believe this is the new Wrestling 2 taking that opportunity. And, that continuation from the angle earlier in the year where the mentorship of Magnum is was a pretty big deal and kind of carried forward. But anyway, Magnum gets cut off pretty aggressively here. Some side headlocks, and Magnum gets tackled, sent to the ground in a hurry, and almost a leg lariat. He was going for the leapfrog and kind of botched it, and so just managed to turn it into a leg style clothesline. Magnum with the body slamming, pretty assertive here, stays on the offense almost entirely consistently through the process here. Cut off by Wrestling 2, and doesn't get all he wants on the cutoff. Gets enough, though. Kick to the midsection and a big suplex by Wrestling 2. Gut wrench suplex also followed up on TA taking the downward spiral for quite a bit. Several minutes of the match here. Not good if you're Magnum TA, but good if you're Wrestling 2 or the new Wrestling 2. Needless to say, he comes up and ultimately bear hugs and the like, and it's not looking good if you're Magnum TA, at least for a couple of minutes in the contest. However, he does manage to make a bit of a comeback, or a reasonable comeback anyway. Hard shots by Wrestling 2, and TA manages to come back around, get put back in the bear hug. Bear hug is not a fun place to be if you're the benefit of anybody worth knowing. And belly to belly suplex. Magnum TA gets the victory, or would have if not for the interference of the other Wrestling 2. But this Wrestling 2 manages to, they both lay out Magnum, and Rock and Roll Express make the save. Then we move to Steve Williams, Dr. Death, and Nikolai Volkov. We talk about a Hoss match. This is one, without a doubt, and it continues to kind of be that Hoss style. Nikolai Volkov doing the Russian national anthem thing, and obviously big ol' Oki in Steve Williams. Not a fan of that, although Williams does catch a couple of boots and other moves under the chin there. Nikolai has been for the latter part of 83 and into 84, and he hits a suplex there, but he's been pretty aggressive, assertive in a good in a good way. Ultimately, kind of a attempted to roll up there, drops the knee, and almost a somersault senton by Nikolai, who tries for a second one, kind of does the jumping forward roll onto his opponent, but Williams able to get out of the corner on that and hits a clothesline. Williams, not intimidated by a guy who's larger than him by any stretch of the imagination, eventually hits the Oklahoma Stampede and gets the victory over Nikolai Volkov, much to the delight of the fans. Terry Taylor and the Shadow up next. Shadow, as mentioned, a masked individual that we've seen before. And obviously, without a doubt, the Shadow, I'm not necessarily sure who plays the role, but Terry Taylor has been a major force in Mid-South for several months now. without a doubt, and continues to be a major force. Attempts the sunset flip, doesn't get what he wants on that. Terry Taylor comes back and is reasonably aggressive, assertive as we move forward. The Shadow tries to roll through the leg grapevine and the scissors and all of that comes with that. Shots into the chin and into the throat by the Shadow. Shadow is unimpressed with everything that goes along with that and roll up, 3/4 roll. Terry Taylor manages to do everything he can, hooks up on his opponent, and again, there we go. Drops the knee across the arm, and again, the head scissors takeover by the Shadow, followed by the headlock takeover by the Shadow. Shadow runs up the ropes and manages to get a couple of those. Terry Taylor, though, not taking any sort of backward step. Big body slam by Taylor. Taylor manages to get the advantage going back in his general direction. Miss of the drop kick by the Shadow. Shadow is unimpressed with, missing anything there. Irish whip by Taylor, who sends his opponent into the other buckle. The Irish whip attempt and returned. Flying forearm / the 5-arm by Taylor, who gets the victory there. Crusher Khrushchev and Hacksaw Duggan are given the last about 7 minutes of the program. Khrushchev, of course, who later becomes Demolition Smash. Duggan, who was laid out by the Russians several months before. Duggan sent to the floor, and they brawl a little bit out there, sent back in. Every cheap shot available to be taken, and Khrushchev takes it. Khrushchev with a body slam in the middle of the ring tries to humiliate Duggan where he can, sends Duggan back out to the floor, not the least bit impressed with Duggan's arsenal or anything else. Duggan uses the apron of the ring and gets an advantage there to the best of his ability and manages to kick away at his adversary and does so several times. We see Duggan stomping and getting everything he can off there. Back elbow by Duggan, and again, double chop along the way and a hard shot by Duggan. Duggan manages to kind of come up and over and hits the shoulder tackle along the way, and Duggan goes at it with Nikolai Volkov, who runs in. So you got Volkov, Khrushchev, and Butch Reed. All 3-on-1 on Duggan for a couple of minutes, which is just odd because, again, baby faces don't get friends until they've been beat down for a couple of minutes, even here in Mid-South. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, and others run in, oddly, and we close the program with Duggan getting saved for his trouble. And ultimately, kind of the Rock and Rolls make their way in. Everybody kind of makes their way in. A tar and feathered version of Magnum, I think, makes his way in, and other things. But needless to say, Duggan is not looking to be in good space. Or actually, it's Duggan who was tarred and feathered there in that role. But anyway, we close the program on that note. We'll be back with more right after this.